So, who are you?
I'm Meghan Sheridan.
Okay, Megan, and where are you from?
Well, I currently reside in Huntington, Vermont, and I am the executive director of the Vermont Fresh Network. But I grew up in upstate New York, in Walton, New York.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Vermont Fresh Network?
Sure. We're a nonprofit organization that's been around since 1995. And I've been with the organization for 6 years now, and we are a statewide nonprofit that connects farmers and chefs. So we work on not only helping to foster those connections, but also celebrating those connections with the consumers, and that whole valuing that communication and partnerships between farmers, chefs, and consumers in order to create a vibrant agricultural system here, or to maintain a vibrant agricultural system in Vermont. So sort of keeping it going, supporting it, and then growing it.
Okay, great. What do you like most about working at Vermont Fresh Network?
It's all about people and connections, and I think just being able to tell great stories and bring the right partners together. And it's a network. There's only 1.5 staff people, and we have over 500 members. And so it's really about the farmers and the chefs and those relationships. And I think that's what resonates with me. It is a network that is truly a network. It's about they're what progresses it and what keeps it going.
Yeah, actually, I find that pretty interesting because you guys are a very small organization, but I can't walk into a good restaurant in Vermont without seeing, the Vermont Fresh Network logo or plaque, if you will, on the door or inside the restaurant. That's pretty unique. How does that make you feel?
It's exceptional, and that's how the organization actually started. Was a bunch of farmers and a bunch of chefs wanted to figure out how to work together more, but they run very different hours, very similar dedication, and sort of complete immersion in their jobs, but totally different times. So it's really hard for a farmer and chef to actually connect, and they just realized that they needed some sort of system or some kind of organization that would help bring them together. And so as staff, that's really all we try to do, is help them facilitate finding each other and coming together and networking. And so it makes us feel great that it isn't, we're not a quality assurance standard. That's not what we do. But what we do is make sure that each of our member chefs has to have at least 3 local farm partners that they buy from directly, that in order to have our sign, so that it just then signifies an innovative chef, someone who's thinking about how to connect with their food and values their food. So by default, it also represents quality. But to us, what we're branding and what we're giving integrity to is that they have relationships and that they're having direct communication with the people who grow the food that you'll find there in the restaurant. I'm so excited to stay sort of connected to your travels across the country, because it's the one thing that I don't get to do very much of, is to connect with people all across the country, because we all sort of are immersed in our communities and what we're doing, and I think there are nuggets of wisdom everywhere in how you're going to make that next step. And so it'll be great to follow you and see how you're doing through the year and how your connections are going, and the stories that other people are telling.
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, honestly, what I'm really trying to do is just use my opportunity and experience to create a platform. So a lot of people in Pennsylvania or California can't meet you because they just simply, it doesn't work. There's no way for them to meet you. But with technology and with my nomadic spirit, I'm able to bring these worlds together. And I feel that, for me, it's a really powerful component in the world of, communication. So, someone can hear you talk in Vermont about how you, connect, farmers and professional and, and talented chefs together. I mean, that's interesting to me. You don't see that in other states. You won't find it. They don't have those networks. And someone might say, wow, that's really interesting. Maybe we should consider putting together a program like that. And then when you start to see those things form and develop because other people are influenced by other people's ideas, to me is very powerful. It kind of goes back to community, just on a larger scale. So, I'm not willing to not take this opportunity to sit down with people like yourself with a camera and put it on the internet, which is a place where people can learn and read and hear and see, and take the information and do what they want with it. I mean, I sit with organic farmers, and they are obviously, some are organic for different reasons. Some are organic because now it's the only way to make money and become profitable as a successful farmer, and some are organic because they truly, feel it's the best way to farm for the population to eat healthy and the right thing to do, for the consumer. Um, and I just feel that, you know, I don't know, maybe I might get to Ohio or Illinois and there's going to be conventional farms, and what am I going to do then? Like, I might have my own personal beliefs and convictions, but I try to remain diplomatic and let people hear what everyone has to say and decipher on their own. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's a really interesting point that you bring up about organic farming and local farming. I mean, we sort of balance between that a lot, and there's there's also, does it have to be organic to be sustainable? And I don't know the answers there either. I mean, as the Vermont Fresh Network, all of our farmers aren't organic. Are they local? Are they committed to their communities? Are they following best practices? Yeah, they're not necessarily organic, and this is kind of off the subject, but in this similar vein of more things to talk about. We're a network of farmers and chefs, but we've really also become a network of farmers and food professionals and distributors, because to grow your local food system, farmers and chefs were a critical part of it. And then, but there's also hospitals, and there's schools, and there's colleges, and gosh, God forbid, corrections, like in VA hospitals, and there's these other places that also, and that's at an entirely different price point. So, you get a little bit of flack when you talk about the farmer chef movement, similar to like the farmer's market. It's at a price point that reduces that not everyone has access to that local food. And so we're grappling with that right now too. Like, what's appropriate scale? Like, what's appropriate size? How do you take some advantage, some lessons from the conventional farmers, some advantage of economies of scale, something so that we're growing, but it's an appropriate scale. It fits its environment. So you go, okay, gosh, maybe we could not necessarily have a continual growth theorem. Maybe not every farmer wants to just keep growing and growing. Maybe they want to get to a certain size, and then they're good, and then they keep that production and that connection, and then there needs to be another farm of a similar size and scale, on this, and we're just getting to that point in our conversation of how do you create a vibrant food system, so you've got all this direct farmer connections to their consumers and to their chefs, but then there's this next level of production that we really all need to start considering too, which does take in distributors, and that is a part of our viable food system, and it does take into agriculture in a different price point. You want to move it beyond a niche. We want to make this a really, maybe local agriculture is never gonna totally take over with the conventional farming, and I tend to be more of a middle sitter than there are people that you always need sort of on the fringe of ideas to push them, and I love them, but I kind of go, maybe conventional has its place somewhere in feeding us all, but to grow the local food movement so it's actually a parallel and people could have choice, we really have to talk about this appropriate size and scale, and how do you have growers that aren't vilified within even the local food movement, but are a little bit bigger, but are still not externalizing their cost of production, like they're still responsible partners of a community. And it's another issue that we're really starting to grapple with and realize that we can't grow a viable food system unless we start to tackle that.